Hello YouTube, it's Ryan here with Hobbies of Man once again, and today we are doing a year-end review of our manga collecting goals for this year. Now, I've done two previous videos. I did the first one in January, which was our manga collecting goals and wish list for the year of 2021, and then I did one, I think in June or July, which was a manga collecting mid-year check-in, and I don't exactly remember what I said in them, since they were quite a while ago, and I didn't have time to watch them before recording this video. But as far as I remember, I'm pretty sure my strategy has changed since then. If I remember correctly, in the beginning of the year video, I talked about how my collecting strategy is usually buy what is cheapest, because I was still in the kind of finding out what I like phase. And so I was really just buying whatever I found cheap, whatever was feeling like the most bang for my buck. And then throughout the middle of the year, I decided to start collecting more thematically, right? And I say middle of the year, but really just as soon as February hit, I started collecting thematically instead. I started buying things for the shoujo month that I did. And then I started buying things for the sci-fi month that I did. And then I tried to get into sports stuff, but I ended up not buying anything for sports kind of related content, although I might try to get some for next year. If I'm going to Mexico, I'm going to try to buy some more of the Captain Tsubasa and maybe some of the other sports things that they have over there, like the special editions of Slam Dunk, but we'll see. Anyway, I started collecting in terms of theme instead of just in terms of what was cheapest, right? And that actually slowly morphed into buying what I wanted to start finishing up, right? In terms of collecting, what I either wanted to catch up to, or what I was trying to either start and continue consistently or finish up, right? And I actually managed to do some of that over the year, but not very much. Now, I'm going to be honest with you guys, the last quarter of the year, the last third of the year, really, my collecting for manga kind of went into a state of flux, not because I was done collecting or because I was bored of collecting, but rather because I became interested in Western comic books. Now, this isn't necessarily something I've never been interested in. In fact, since before the channel started, I already had a few Western comic books, but I had never tried to get into buying them individually as they came out single by single, right? And I did. I started doing that. And that actually affected my ability to buy manga for a while, because I was spending most of my money on comic books. I was in that exploratory phase of an early kind of beginning of a hobby where I was just buying everything that I could and trying to read as much as I could and trying to figure out what I was liking. And it worked out well. I did spend a lot of money on that. But I think that it's not money badly spent. It's money quite well spent because I enjoyed it, right? So primarily, that's the most important thing, right? I enjoyed what I was doing. Sure, I kind of regret it in hindsight because I should have known what I liked and what I didn't like. I should have stayed away from DC and Marvel mostly, and I should have mostly focused on Image and smaller, individual indie publishers, right? And I didn't do that. I slowly have been pushing myself towards doing that, because the reality of the situation is that mostly indie stuff is what I am mostly interested in. I like the superhero genre. I like the superheroes that we talk about generally when we read Marvel and DC. However, the problem is that I like the Marvel characters from the movies, not the Marvel characters from the books. And sometimes they work the same, and sometimes, and most likely, most often, they do not. And so I end up liking it, but I end up not feeling like I got what I wanted. And in terms of Marvel or in terms of DC, well, I don't really have a preference, because I like the DC CW TV shows, but I also don't really love them. And so it doesn't matter if they don't feel like those characters. So it's not that big of a deal. But really, DC tended to be less enjoyable for me than Marvel. I mean, I think there was just something more wacky and lighthearted about Marvel in terms of the comic books in DC. And so I mostly ended up buying a lot of Marvel comics, right? Beyond the Image and Vault comics that I ended up buying. And so that derailed my manga collecting goals, and that's really not the point of this video, but it is important to kind of talk about, because it affected how I was buying manga. I was spending, whatever, like 60% of my money that I had to spend on comic books, and very little of it, the last 40%, on manga. And so I wasn't buying as much manga as I wanted to. And so that meant that when I was buying manga, I was being more conscientious about what I was buying. And so that ended up me turning into a kind of like buy to finish a series kind of buyer, which I think is a good thing. Generally, I think it's nice. However, I do prefer that kind of more exploratory mood kind of generated style of buying, because that's more in line with what I like. I feel like I'm too rigid when it comes to school and my what is going to be my professional life, since I'm an engineer. And so I feel that, having hobbies and things that I'm doing on the side that don't require me to be so rigid and structured are actually quite good for me. Although at the end of the day, my personality definitely leans towards rigid and structured. And so I end up being relatively rigid and structured in everything that I do. But I do like the hobbies that allow me to kind of get away from that a bit. And generally, reading is a hobby that allows me to do that, because I can read whatever I feel like at any time that I feel like. And it's really not that big of a deal, right? So that's why I like manga collecting. But like I said, manga collecting was difficult for me. And like I said, my strategy did change from this not really related to cheapness or price, not really related to theme, but rather related to completing or catching up to series. And I think that functioned quite well for me. So I managed to keep up with Eden Zero. I'm one volume away, because the current volume that is about to come out was supposed to come out this week. Got moved to December 21st, and then it got moved further down. And so I'm just waiting on that one to come out, and then I should be caught up. I'll probably end up going on Azuki and reading the rest of it as it comes out, and collecting the volumes one by one as they come out. But I do want to try to catch up to Eden Zero. I started collecting Hitomi-chan is Shy with Strangers and Furi-san. Both of those are really small right now, so it's easy to collect them and be caught up with them. I finally started to read Ultraman and Gundam Thunderbolts, which were two series that I wanted to buy and get into. I actually never managed to get into No Guns Life, and that kind of sucks. I'll try to get into it next year. I mean, I saw a lot of volumes of it, but I would never see volume 1, and that's kind of the volume that I want to start with, right? So that's kind of annoying there, but overall, I think that it's okay. I managed to at least start some of the series that I was looking forward to this year, and that's really, really good for me. So overall, pretty happy with that, and we'll see how it continues next year. So yeah, in terms of other series that I was trying to catch up with, I managed to get one more volume of Villain Saga and one more volume of Monster, and I think those two are probably going to be the ones that I try to focus on the most next year. However, the problem with Monster is that there's never any physical copies at my local stores, so I always end up feeling like I need to buy it online. But then online, I never feel the need to, because I just prefer buying things physically at the store. And Vinland Saga is always available. There's always Vinland Saga volumes everywhere that I go, either to my local comic book shop or to my local Barnes & Nobles, or the few times that I've gone to my local Books A Million, I have managed to find Vinland Saga in all three of them, and I never get to see any Monster. In fact, I rarely ever get to see Urasawa works, and I think that just because they're so popular and so many people buy them all the time, that they just don't happen to come out very often, or it has to do with the fact that, with the resources being so scarce for books, they're choosing to focus on new things that are coming out instead of things that have been completed for quite a while, right? Which is the majority of Urasawa's works, right? So that means Asadora gets to keep publishing, but things like Monster and 20th Century Boys don't get to publish as much because they're old and people don't really buy them as much compared to the new stuff, right? So that kind of makes sense there, but I really wish I had managed to get more of them. I think these are just going to be slow series for me to collect. I would like to catch up to them sometime next year, but I'm not really sure how it's going to work out, so we'll see how that goes. In terms of finishing series in Spanish, however, I managed to buy the full set of 5 volumes of Mary Grave, which is a series I've been pretty excited about. I got this, I think, back in September during the Panini Manga sale for the Mexican Independence Day celebration. They had a sale in September. I bought 2 volumes of Origin, which is the other series that I've been trying to collect, and Mary Grave, and that was really great. And then I managed to finish up Origin in a recent sale. They have this thing that's called the good end, the El Buen Fin, which is basically like a competitor towards Black Friday, because a lot of Mexican people move to the U.S. During Thanksgiving week in order to buy some stuff and then go back to Mexico, like kind of like a shopping trip, basically. And Mexico is trying to kind of get away from that because they're losing a lot of business during those weeks, and a ridiculous amount of business during those weeks that kind of carries over to the rest of the year. So they're trying to do this thing called the Buen Fin, which is kind of trying to have a, you know, Black Friday equivalent kind of thing, which I think is actually really, really good. And it actually helped me out because it managed to let me buy the rest of Origin. So I have all 10 volumes collected now, which is really, really great. And I managed to get some other things. I got a Ichiro Oda short story collection. I got the first volume of Rooster Fighter, which was really great. It comes with this great Mexican-themed postcard that the author wrote. And he even, answered a post on Twitter of mine, or he replied to a tweet that I did, which was awesome. I love that. I thought that was so cool. Very, very nice guy. And I got some other stuff in that series, in that sale, but I can't remember what I got. But basically, I managed to finish two series of Mexican manga, and I will try to finish up some more this coming trip, but I'm not really sure if I'll manage to get some. I definitely want to start some series that I want to try to start buying up next year. If I manage to save up some money in between every couple months, and then use it during a sale, I should definitely be able to buy a lot of manga from Mexico. The only problem is that I don't know how often I'll be able to go to Mexico. I definitely guarantee one trip a year, but if I buy, 150 volumes, my grandma has to keep them for me for the whole year, and that's kind of not the best. So I'm curious to see how I'll be able to handle that. Hopefully, I'll be able to handle that by going sometime in the summer. Even if I just go by myself to go pick them up and spend a few days with my grandma and then come back to the US. Really shouldn't be that hard, but it is kind of annoying that I have to do that, right? And yeah, in terms of other stuff that I wanted to get, I wanted to buy all of the Seven Seas classic collections, and I managed to not do that. I only managed to buy Harlock and Go Ranger, and so I technically have half of the classic collection. I'm missing Cutie Honey. I'm missing the 2 volumes of Devilman, or 3 volumes of Devilman. I can't remember how many there are. I'm pretty sure it's 2. So I'm missing those 3. And then the new Lupin the Third series just came out. And of course, they're going to have Kamen Rider out early next year. So that's 5 books out of the 10-book collection that I'm missing. Let me check really quick. Captain Harlock, Yamato, and Go Ranger. Yeah, that's 5 books, and I'm missing 5 other books. So I'm halfway through collecting all of them. And of course, they add more as the years go on. So hopefully I manage to collect all of them, and I really do hope that I do. Other than that, I think that's it. I do have some goals for next year. I have some interesting things that I want to buy. I want to buy Record of Ragnarok, Volume 1. I want to continue buying Kaiju number 8 now that it's out in English. I want to try to buy some manga that is in Spanish, that is not from Mexico, something from Spain, from Ivrea. If you guys check out Weabra, he does a lot of Spain manga. He buys a lot of Spanish manga from Spain, and I want to get into that. I think that they have a lot of series that we just don't have available here, and that they don't have available in Spanish, and I might also try to get into some French ones. I do know a little bit of French. I'm not the best at speaking it. My pronunciation is horrible because it's a hard language to pronounce. However, I am pretty good at reading it because once you, in the written form, it's actually quite similar to English and Spanish for the vast majority of the words. Even if they do look a little bit different, you can kind of still find the equivalent words in either of the 2 languages if you try hard enough. And that means that it should be relatively easy to read. So I might try to do that, but I mostly want to focus on Spanish manga from Spain. I want to buy Sunken Rock. I want to buy some Masasami Kagisaki works like Green Blood. I want to try some of the other stuff written by the author of Jagan, like Grashross. And I want to try some more Boichi stuff like Sunken Rock and Hotel and Wallman. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see what I plan out for next year. And I'll have a new video out about this same topic for 2022 sometime in the early weeks of January. I should come back for my holiday January 5th, and we'll see how it goes from there. So yeah, overall, thank you guys very much for watching. I really do appreciate it, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please let me know what you guys thought, and let me know what your manga collecting goals look like this year and how you managed to finish them, or if you didn't manage to. And really, if you didn't manage to, it's okay. It's not a big deal. This is a journey. This is not about finishing. This is about going through it, right? So yeah, thank you guys very much for watching. I really do appreciate it. See you guys later.